Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Ruin. So today we're going to be exploring Magic the Gathering Top 10 Acts. And now at number 10 we got Murderer's Axe from Shadows over Innistrad. It's an uncommon which is going roughly for about 2 cents on the market at the time of this video. It's pretty basic, pretty decent. It just says equipped creature gets +2/+2. Equipped, discard a card. This is why it's at number 10. It doesn't have a casting cost, it's discard a card. Again, that could be to your advantage if you're trying to do a discard graveyard from your some kind of an ability. Other than that, this card's not that good, but I do believe it deserved to be on this list. So now at number 9. At number 9 we have Thirsting Axe from Eldritch Moon, and it's an uncommon, which is roughly again going for around 3 cents like most axes are. It says equipped creature gets +4/0, so it costs 3 colors, but it says at the beginning of your end step, if an equipped creature didn't deal combat damage to a creature this turn, sacrifice it, equip 2. So it's kind of like the double-edged axe, I guess would be the saying, because it does a lot of damage for 3 and 2, 4 for on it as an equip. I thought it'd be cool. It says sometimes the weapon wields the bearer, which is true because you have to sacrifice it. But again, this axe is not the best, but it's on the list. So let's move on to number 8. And at number 8, we got Thirsting Axe from Commander Legends and Modern Horizons. It's a common, which is going roughly for about 3 cents at the time of this video. And it has equipped creature gets +3/0 and is every creature type equipped 3. I like this card because it's why it's the number 8 is because it gives it that creature type. Again, if you're running one of those type of decks, that can help possibly bring out more creatures depending on the combination of colors, creature, or anything you're in your deck. But we're talking about axes, so this is why it's at number 8. So let's move on to number 7. At number 7, we got Marauder's Axe from basically various sets, and it's common. And depending on the set, it's ranging from 2 cents to 11 cents. This is basically like Thirsting Axe, but for 2 colors and +2/0 and equip 2, while the other one was like 3/3/3, and that's why it's at number 7 instead of number 8. So let's move on to number 6. And at number 6 we got Dark Steel Axe. It's from various sets, and from those various sets it can be common or uncommon with an average of 8 cents at the time of this video. The reason why it's at number 6 is, well, it only costs 1 mana for this artifact and equip 2, so second turn, I guess, well, you can't equip to anything, but gives that creature indestructible and +2/0. So that's a really good common, I thought. So let's move on to number 5. At number 5, we have Relic Axe from Zendikar Rising, and it's an uncommon, which was averaging about 3 cents at this time in the video. It costs 2 mana, but it says when it enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. So that's really cool. The equipment's already attached to it, and then it gets +1/+1. If it's a warrior, it gets +2/+1 instead. So that's very, very impressive. Even if you can get out a warrior that has 1 for a 1/1, second turn, it could be, as you can know, 3/2. So that's a really cool uncommon. I really like that. It's not a bad picture. So let's move on to number 4. At number 4, we got Lightning Axe from various sets. It's a red axe I put in here. It's an uncommon, and it's going around 13 cents, believe it or not. So as additional cost to cast a spell, discard a card, or pay 5. If you do, it deals 5 damage to target creature for 1 mana and sacrificing a card. That is absolutely nothing. This card is very cool, but it's unfortunately at number 4. So let's move on to number 3. So at number 3 is really cool. I like this Obsidian Battle Axe, which is from Morningtide, and it's an uncommon, which is currently going for around 29 cents at the market at the time of this video, which is really cool because it's a tribal artifact. On top of that, it's a warrior equipment, which is not very standard at this time in the Magic world. And it also says whenever a warrior creature comes into play, you may attach a battle axe to it. So again, with the current standard, there are a lot of warriors in the Magic world, and it has equipment 3. So 3/3. So basically, this is built around warrior deck, but that is really cool. +2/+1 and has haste. You can't beat that. So let's move on to number 2. And at number 2, we got good old Skyclave Pickaxe from Zendikar Rising, and it's an uncommon, which is going right about 3 cents on the market right now. I only believe It will only get higher as 3 cents is pretty standard for a new set that just came out, that, like I said, at the time of this video. So for one forest, attached to target creature control, whenever land enters the battlefield, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. I find this very, very incredible, especially for an uncommon that's going for around 3 cents. You cannot beat that. It's like every turn, even if you just put a land or sack land or bring another land into play, +2/+2/+2/+2. Boom, just can't beat that. But let's move on to number 1. And that's right, at number 1, we got Bloodforged Battle Axe from Commander 2017. It's a rare, and it's actually going for $22.48. Wow, so you know this card is really cool. For only 1 mana, it says equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of Bloodforged Battle Axe equipped to. Boom. Wow, you just can't beat that ability non-stop. Just like Battle Axe, Battle Axe, Battle Axe, Battle Axe. Again, I love this card. It's really cool, and I hope you enjoyed this video because this is the top 10. And there's more on the channel if you like it, so I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Runesnow, and we're going to be exploring the top 10 barrier, which could be walls, spells, or anything. So let's begin at number 10. Which first on our list is Relic Barrier. It's from various sets, which is an uncommon, can range from 21 cents to $15. This is depending on the set, so the first one, Relic Barrier, that came out was from the 1990s, so obviously that's going to be the $15. This card is at number 10 because, well, it's really good or really bad. The only reason why it would be good is if you're playing an artifact deck. Other than that, this card is actually kind of useless. Just taps an target artifact. Doesn't really do much. So this is why it's at number 10. It could be very good or very bad. So let's move on to number 9. At number 9, we got Nyx Barrier from Magic Origin, which is a common ranging about 8 cents on the market at the time of this video. The reason why it's at number 9 as well, it has flash. Have you ever met a illusion wall that has flash, let alone a wall? So it costs 4 mana, which is very steep for a 0/4. Has defender, obviously. But it says when it enters the battle, target attacking creature gets -4/0 until end of turn. So that's a really cool ability, giving that creature -4/0. But outside of that, this card is useless. It's way too expensive. For just a 0/4, you might as well just put out any kind of wall. Like, this is just not that good. This is why it's at number 9. So let's move on to number 8. At number 8, we have Stinging Barrier from Mercadian Mask, and it's a common which is roughly going for 15 cents. This card was actually played very much when standard, as they said, not back then. This was the main blue card that was used in Mercadian Mask. It's a wall. It costs 1 blue mana. It says it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So that's really cool. It comes 4 for a 0/4, and it can do damage every turn, which would be very annoying if you have 4 of those walls that block and does damage at the end of the turn. That was really powerful back in the day, but it's not so much. So let's move on to number 7. At number 7, we have Shimmering Barrier from Urza Saga, and it's actually an uncommon, which is going for about 25 cents. The reason why here it's at number 7 is actually because this barrier has first strike. It's the only barrier that does have first strike, which you can take advantage of, and has cycling. Again, that's really cool. So with the cycling and first strike, this is why it's here at number 7, and it only costs 2 mana for that 1/3. There's so many ways you can work around with this barrier. This is why. So let's move on to number 6. At number 6, we have Blistering Barrier from Mirage, which is common, which is going roughly about 12 cents on the market right now at this time of this video. The reason why here it is at number 6 as well is quite simple. It's a 5/2. This barrier has more power than defense, so that's really cool. Blistering Barrier, if you look at the picture, it really makes sense that it's 5 instead of the reverse 2 to 5 for 3 mana. So basically, it's almost a one-time use. But it can stop anything up for 5 damage for 3 mana, which is, again, very impressive, and that's why it is at number 6. So let's move on to number 5. And halfway down our list, we have Coral Barrier from Magic 15 or 2015, and it's common, going for roughly about 10 cents on the market. As expected, it is a wall with defender, so the reason why it is because it says it comes in with a 1/1 blue squid creature token with Island Walk onto the battlefield. It's a 1/3 for the 3 mana. So again, the reason why it's halfway down that list is only because of that token ability. Not only it comes in with a free token, it has Island Walk. It's a squid, so it's not a very common type of card that would be used in Magic, but it has that Island Walk ability, which can also be on top. Useless. This is the reason why it's at number 5 or not at number 1. So let's move on to number 4. Which we have Coral Barrow from Return to Ravnica. It's an uncommon, which is going for roughly 40 cents. I think it's at number 4 because, well, this barrier, well, first of all, I'm going to start by saying I absolutely love that picture. But the reason why here it's at number 4, like I just said, it has Defender and Flying. So that's very cool. Not very many barriers / walls have Flying. So only for 3 mana, 0/6, he can stop actually quite a bit for that 3 mana. So it's kind of like almost an undefeatable wall at the time. So let's move on to number 3. Which we have Soul Bear from 5th edition in Ice Age. From 5th edition it was common, in Ice Age it was uncommon. And again, with the 5th edition it's 38 cents, while the Ice Age is $2. I think this is actually a really cool Soul Barrier card, this enchantment. It's kind of more of annoying than anything else, because it says whenever target opponent successfully casts a summon spell, it deals 2 damage to him or her, unless they pay 2 to prevent that damage. So again, it's not really groundbreaking, but I think this is actually quite annoying. Take 2 damage every turn when you cast a summon spell? Like, there's no brainer right there. So let's move on to number 2. And at number 2, we have Jungle Barrier, which is from many various sets, and it's an uncommon, ranging about 17 cents on the market at this time of the video. The reason why it's actually at number 2 is because of that drawing a card ability. So for 4 mana, really kind of steep, and it's 2/6, so it does do some damage for those like 1/1s coming its way. But it's like, draw a card. Who doesn't want to draw cards? So that's exactly why it's at number 2. But there's another card at number 1, so let's explore the best one on the top 10 list. And now, at number 1, which we have Aether Barrier from Nemesis. It's a rare going for about $2. This card here is kind of like the number 3 card. This is 100% annoyance. Whenever a player plays a creature spell, that player sacrifices a permanent unless he or she pays 1. 100% annoyance. I like this card. I like the picture just because it's so random. And it has Belby. Another cool saying if you understood the story behind the magic. So again, this is number 1. I think this is the number 1 barrier in all the Magic world. So if you like there's more video, there's more on my channel, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful evening. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Runestone. Today we'll be going over the Magic the Gathering top 10 bloom in all the Magic world. And now, at number 10, which we're going to start our list with, is Fungal Bloom from Fallen Empires. It's a rare going for $2.09 on the market. It's only valued at that because, well, it's on the reserved list. This is a very cool card. It was very well played back in the day. Basically, it says, for 2 forests, put a spore counter on target fungus. Well, this means absolutely nothing, basically, outside the Fallen Empires, because it doesn't really do anything. This Fungus Bloom is totally useless. This is why it's at number 10, and it would be at number 100 if I had a choice. So let's straight up move on to number 9. Next we have is Essex Fractal Bloom. It's from Commander's series, that's why I put in the quotations. It's a mythic rare going for a whopping 93 cents on the market. It's really cool because it's a legendary creature. Other than that, it's 6 for this 4/4 flying. For this time, you would create 1 or more tokens during each of your turns. You instead choose a creature other than Essex and create as many tokens and copies of that creature. So yeah, it's kind of cool, but it doesn't really do that much. That's why it's at number 9. So let's move on to number 8. Which we have is Morbid Bloom from Alera Reborn, and it's an uncommon for 19 cents. I like this card because it's cool, because the quotation alone, from the Damned I Make My Garden from Jorshu of Clen Neltoth. And I like the cards that are associated with Clen Neltoth because it's just, everything about it's kind of cool just for the Magic storyline. But for this 6 mana, it says remove target creature card in a graveyard from the game. Put X 1/1 green saffron creature tokens into play, where X is the removed card's toughness. For 6 mana, it's definitely not that good. It is better than the 2 previous cards, but it's not even an instant. Like, come on. So let's just move on to number 7. Which, of course, we have is Mana Bloom from Return to Ravnica. It's a rare going for 40 cents on the market at the time of this video. Basically, it says mana blue enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it. Remove a charge counter from the mana blue, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Activate this ability only once per turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, if mana bloom has no charge counters on it, return it to its owner's hand. So that's a really cool ability because once it runs out, you can just pop it back to your hand and replay it if you choose. But the drawback is, like, if you're spending all this money to put it into play, wouldn't you by that time just cast your own things already? Unless you have like land destruction, I don't see how this card is any good. So let's move on to number 6, which is Tangle Bloom from Muradin or 9th. So it would be either a common or uncommon in the 9th, going for only 10 cents on the market for the average price. Well, this card is actually number 6 because it's kind of more annoying than anything else, because it costs 1 mana, which is an artifact. You can have many decks with artifacts, and it costs 1 to you gain 1 life. Again, you can make many decks based on gaining life. This is why it's at number 6 for those 2 alone abilities, because it could be 100% annoying on however you want to use this. Not for the actual card, but more for annoyance, I would say. So let's move on to halfway down our list to number 5. And halfway down our list is Summer Bloom from various sets, so it could be rare or uncommon based on the set that you choose. And it's going for, yeah, that's right, $3.78 is the average price for this card. So it costs only 2 mana for this source. It says you may play up to 3 additional lands this turn. It could be a bit of a drawback, so basically you just hope your whole hand is land. Other than that, this card's kind of good and bad at the same time. That's why I went from rare to uncommon, because what are the chances of you doing that? You got to have some kind of, again, land deck. So let's move on to number 4. At number 4, we have Lotus Bloom from various sets. It's a rare, going for only $1.87 on the average market. I actually thought this should be at number 1, but the people I talked to said I shouldn't. I think this card should be in every deck all the time. I do not understand, because there's no way you're going to get Black Lotus, so you might as well do this. It's free. It has to spend 3, which costs 0. And then you says sacrifice Lotus Bloom, add 3 mana of any color to your mana pool. Why wouldn't you want to do that, other than you have a chance of someone destroying an artifact, which not a lot of decks even. So I'm talking about even just blooms. I'm talking about in general. This card I think is absolutely amazing. I think it should be worth a lot more than just $1.87 on the market, but that's the way it is. So let's just move on to number 3. Next we got is Cadver's Bloom from Mirage. It's a rare, going for $11.35, and as you can see, it's on the reserve list too. So that's 2 on this top 10 that's on the reserve list. Basically, this bloom costs 5 mana to put it into play, and this enchantment says choose a card in your hand and remove it from the game. Add either 2 swamp or 2 forest to your mana pool. Play this ability, of course, as a mana source. Back in the day, they had weird rules like interrupts, but there you go. So I don't know why this card is so expensive, because it's kind of cool, but just anything that costs a lot of mana. Wouldn't you rather play it at the point when you have 5 mana already in play, unless you want like that dinosaur that costs 12 mana to play? So again, I do like this card though, because of that ability alone. So let's just move on to number 2, which we have is Bloom Tender. That's right, from Eventide or various, which I would say like Secret Lair Drop or Mystery Booster, the list. It's kind of that kind of thing, but nothing reprinted. So it's a rare, going for, that's right, $32.87 on the current market. Now, why is this at number 2? It's hard to believe, right? So it costs 2 mana for this 1/1, but it says for each color among permanents you control, add 1 mana of that color to your mana pool. That was really, really cool. And the artist is Chippy, so that even adds more to the, I personally think, more value to the card, because Chippy is one of my favorite artists in the Magic world. This card is just absolutely incredible. But can you believe it? It's only at number 2. So let's move on to number 1, which we have is the incredible Vernal Bloom card. It's from various sets. It's a rare. I like the Urza Saga series, so that's why I put that one up. Going for only $7.46 currently at the market. Basically, this 4 mana enchantment costs, well, whenever a forest is tapped for a mana, it produces additional forest. Think about that. You got 4 already in play to play this spell in general, and you can add more, so you can just keep adding mana Oh my god. Can you imagine having 4 of those? What would you do with all that mana? So many options, so many choices. This is why this is my favorite Bloom card. In fact, this card is actually incredible in general, just like the Bloom Tender. But this is what I personally think this is number 1. So I hope you enjoyed the top 10 Bloom, and I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rune. So today we're doing Magic the Gathering Top 10 Cave. And now, at number 10. By starting off with our list is Cryptic Caves from various sets. It's an uncommon going for only 10 cents on the market. Well, this one just basically says add a grade to your mana pool. But the ability is pay 1, sacrifice Cryptic Cave, draw a card, activate this own ability if you control 5 or more lands. So even on top of that, you gotta wait for 5 lands to do that ability. Again, for this Caves card, this is why it's at number 10 and nothing special. So let's just move on to number 9. Which at number 9, we got Ice Cave from Apocalypse or the List. It's a rare going for, that's right, only a whopping 50 cents on the market. This card is actually kind of cool. That's why it's at number 9, because it is playable in maybe commander decks, because it says whenever a player plays a spell, any other player may pay that spell's mana cost. If that player does, counter the spell. So it costs 5 mana, so it's pretty decent for what it can do to put in. So it's at number 9 for Caves, and I believe it deserved to be on this list. So let's move on to number 8, which is Ristic Cave from Prophecy. It's an uncommon, that's right, for only 26 cents on the market. So far these caves are not very expensive, but we're talking about caves and not the Magic world in general. I really do like the artwork from this card, and it says add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, unless any player plays 1. So the reason why it's on the list is, well, because maybe the opponent or any player on the field can't pay that 1. So therefore, you get any color. So this is what basically you're playing like chicken and the goose kind of thing. Really cool card. And so let's just move on to number 7. At number 7, we got Dromar's Cavern from Plane Shift. It's an uncommon for going $1.37 at the market at the time of the video. This one is really cool because it's a layer in addition to its other land types, so you can use something toward that layer. But it comes into play, sacrifice unless you return a non-layer you control to its owner's hand. But because of that ability, you get a choice of 3 mana to your mana pool. Basically, it's any mana color you want. This is the reason why it's at number 7 is, well, you do have to sacrifice, but at least it's not you have to wait for 5 land or anything like that. But it's very, very rare in the Magic world where you have 3 mana to choose from. That's why it's at number 7. So let's move on to number 6, which is Caves of Kolios. From various sets, it's a rare going for only 98 cents. The reason why this one is at 6 and not number 7 is because there is kind of like no hidden agenda, like you have to sacrifice land or anything. Basically, it only deals 1 damage to you. So it gives you the option of, say, adding 1 colors, or you can add a white or a swamp and it deals 1 damage to you, which is, I think, another incredible ability for a cave/land card, because you have that option. 1 damage, 20 life, isn't that difficult to use, so you might as well just keep painting yourself. Again, we're talking about caves, so this is a pretty good card, and it could be playable in the real Magic world. So let's move on halfway down our list to number 5, which is Caves of the Frost Giant from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. It's a rare one for $1.65. The reason for that at the time of this video is, well, it is part of the current standard. So once it's out of the standard rotation, this most likely will drop dramatically in price. Basically, it says if you control 2 or more other lands, it enters the battlefield tap. So you can add 1 white, but you can also, for 5 mana, basically make it a 3/4 white dragon creature with flying, which does help when you have no creatures in play. You can just use this card to attack, and then it'll turn back into a land. So let's move on to number 4. Which we have is Gemstone Caverns from Time Spiral or Time Spiral Remastered, or the list, therefore giving it a rare or mythic value with an average price of $33.46 at the market time of this video. Now we're getting into real cards. Believe it or not, a lot of cave cards are actually very playable in the Magic world. So this is actually a very fun video that I had to make because a lot of these cards are actually very good. Basically, it says, if Gemstone Caverns is in your opening hand and you're not playing first, you may begin the game with it in play with a luck counter on. If you do, remove a card in your hand from the game. And as you guys know, I'm a very fan of those things where you can play cards and just randomly right away. Basically, it says add 1 to your mana pool. If Gemstone Cavern has a luck counter on, instead add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So that is very impressive. It is a legendary land. That is the drawback. But with you get that first turn and you're not playing, this class is absolutely incredible. It might not be very good in the later game, but it is very good. And that's why it's at number 4, because of it being a good chance in your first hand. So let's move on to number 3. That's right. At number 3, I actually put Goblin Caves at, which is from the dark, a common going on for only 57 cents. Compared to the other card at number 4, which was $33. Basically, it says if target land is a basic mountain, all goblins gain +0/+2, which I actually really do like, because if you're playing an all goblin deck with only for 3 mana, you can really pump up those goblins, especially when those goblins are only like 1/1s. Most people may find that inefficient of your 3 mana usage once you be able to play the Goblin Caves, because there are many other goblins you could play with that amount of mana. But when it comes to caves, I actually believe this is actually a very powerful cave card. And there's not much more to say that. So let's move on to number 2. And at number 2, we have Caverns of Despair from Legends. It's a rare, and it's going for $95.72, which if you take into account that it is an old school card, therefore it has increased more in value because of that. Does not mean it's good. But for caves, I think this is a very incredible card. It costs 4 mana for this enchant world, which is what they used back in the day. It says all players may attack with no more than 2 creatures each turn and block with no more than 2 creatures each turn. This is a very controlling card, especially when it's not blue. This is a red control card, and it's an enchant world. I think is just absolutely amazing, because you will not see this card nowadays being used. And it's a very weird and unusual card. I like the card. It works well if you want to play a red control. That's about it. So let's move on to number 1. And at number 1 is an amazing card in the Magic world, and another amazing cave card, which is Cavern of Souls from various sets. It's a rare or a mythic, depending on the set. Going for it, that's at a whopping $74.87 on the market. This is just an absolutely incredible card, incredible cave card. I don't even know how they even released such a good card, because it says when it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. So tap it to add 1 to your mana pool, or add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, which is very, very easy, and it can't be countered. Therefore, destroying any kind of blue deck in general that would counter this. It's absolutely incredible. Like, if you choose a creature type, you can basically choose any color you want and have this in play. And on top of that, it's not even legendary. It's just a regular land. You can have 4 of those in play. There's not much more to say about this incredible card. It is number 1 on the caves, and I am glad to get play with this card, because it just makes theme decks so much easier. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and hope you guys have a good day and a good evening. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Runestone, and today we're going over Magic Gathering, the top 10 Cobra, not snakes, Cobra cards, now at number 10. Starting off is Death Hood Cobra. It's from various sets. It's a common, going for a whopping 4 cents on the market. Reason why it's at 10, well, it's 2 mana for a 2/2, so it's pretty good already on there. But so you can either give it Reach or Death Touch until end of turn, or give it both if you have the mana that's available. So that's not bad for a Cobra card. You can basically give it Death Touch and keep attacking, which is common for Cobra snakes. So let's move on to number 9. Which we have is Ukid Cobra from Dragons of Tarkir. It's uncommon before, that's right, 9 cents on the market, which is pretty typical for the Cobra cards. This one basically costs 4 mana for a 2/5 Death Touch. The reason why it's at number 9 is it has that Death Touch ability, and it's a 2/5, which is very uncommon for a Cobra snake card. So this is why I put it there, and I just had to add it to the list because it's a 2/5, so it does have strong defense, which that's about it. So let's move on to number 8. And at number 8, we got Jewel-Eyed Cobra from Modern Horizons 2. It's a common, and going for that, can't get any lower than that, 1 cent. Basically, the reason why it's here at this number is, well, because it costs 3, but it is for a 3/1. So it has Death Touch, and when it dies, create a treasure token. So you kind of get 2 bonuses, because if the opponent has no creatures in play, 3 for a 3/1 Death Touch, I say that's considerably pretty good. So let's move on to number 7. That's right, at number 7 is the one and only card that is not a snake or a creature. This is Cobra Trap. It's from various sets. It's an uncommon going for 12 cents on the market. It costs 6 mana, but at number 7 it deserved that because if a non-creature permanent under your control is destroyed this turn by a spell or ability in an opponent controlled, you may pay a forest rather than pay Cobra Trap's mana cost. Boom, you can't argue with that. For 1 mana, you could probably put out 4 1/1 green snake creature tokens onto the battlefield. Again, that is an amazing instant, and I'm actually surprised this uncommon is not more than 12 cents. So let's move on to number 6. And which we have is Nar Nam Cobra from Kaladesh. It's a common going for 6 cents at the market at the time of this video. And I just thought, well, this card is kind of cool, and it's kind of a really cool picture. I really like it, actually. It costs 2 for a 2/1. Very standard for a Cobra Snake card. But you can pay 1 force to gain it Death Touch until end of turn. The reason why I put it this one and not at number 10 is it only costs 1 mana to give it Death Touch. And it costs 2 for a 2/1. So with factoring that all in, and it's an artifact creature, which can make a difference because it's not just a typical creature when you're playing, say, an artifact deck. So let's go down halfway down our list to number 5. Which is Hornet Cobra from Legends. It's a common going for 41 cents. So again, with the typical Cobra cards, it has first strike. So I thought, well, it does deserve to be halfway down, and it's the only reason why it's at 41 cents is because it's an old school card. Other than that, it would probably be worth 3 to 4 cents. 3 mana for a 2/1 first strike. I thought it was very impressive because it doesn't have Death Touch, which is very not normal for a Cobra card. So let's move on to number 4. Now we're getting into some cool Cobras. This is Crypt Cobra from Mirage. It's an uncommon going for 22 cents on the market. That's right, it's moving up. Basically, it costs 4 mana for a 3/3, which is very untypical for a Cobra card. And it says, if Crypt Cobra attacks and is not blocked, defending player gets a poison counter. If any player has 10 or more poison counters, he or she loses the game. So they really took the emphasis of poison with Cobras, which I thought was very cool. So let's move on to number 3, which is Sabertooth Cobra. It's a Mirage card. It's a common going for 24 cents. So that's really cool. A common card going for 24 cents, which is more than anyone on this list, or most cards. Costs 3 for a 2/2, but if you read the whole description, it says, if Sabertooth Cobra damages a player, he or she gets a poison counter. During that player's next upkeep, he or she gets another poison counter unless he or she pays 2 to prevent that effect. If any player has 10 or more counters, he or she loses the game. So, come on, you have to, basically it forces the opponent to pay 2 every turn. Simple answer was, well, yeah, they're going to have to pay or they're going to lose with the poison. So let's move on to number 2, which is Voracious Cobra from Invasion. It's an uncommon going for, yeah, that's right, 17 cents on the market at the time of this video. Well, this one actually costs 4 mana for a 2/2. Has first strike, and when it deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature. So basically it has Death Touch. So it has those 2 abilities built into it. Instead of having to pay the Cobra to have those abilities, it's already built in, and that's why I put it at number 2. And not because it's at number 2, I really do like that artwork. So let's move on to number 1. And that's right, at number 1 we have Lotus Cobra from various sets. It's a rare or a mythic, where they go in a whopping average price of $2.45 on the market. I had to put this card up because of the various sets, because I absolutely love Chippy. That is an amazing artwork, and just keep doing it. The ability is Landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you may add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, and on top of that, it's only costs 2 for a 2/1. So even if the opponent doesn't even have a creature out, you can attack with it and still use that Landfall ability. Awesome card. So I hope you enjoyed the video of the top 10 Cobra, and I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Rune. So today we're going to be doing Magic the Gathering top 10 Coral. And at number 10 we got Coral Net from Torment. It's a common going for roughly 18 cents on the market. Well, at number 10, well, you can see quite clearly that because it's here, because it says it can enchant only a green or white creature. So for that 1 mana, You're limiting to what you can attack. It says, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this creature unless you discard a card from your hand. At this point, most people would just sacrifice the creature, but again, who knows? It's very limited. This is why it's at number 10. And now, at number 9, we have Coral Merfolk from various sets. It's a common, only going for 5 cents. There's nothing special about this Merfolk, that's why it's at number 9. This Merfolk costs 2 mana to bring in that 2/1 creature. That's it, there's nothing special, and let's move on to number 8. At number 8, we have Coral Commando from Ravnica Allegiance. It's a common, and believe it or not, 2 cents. Can't get any cheaper than that. The reason why you're here is, well, just like the other card, there's absolutely nothing special about this Coral Commando. It costs 3 for a 3/2, so instead of it being a 2/1, it's now a 3/2. The sayings are actually kind of cool, I guess. Like it says, few Ravnicans are aware of the vast reefs in their worlds in the hidden oceans far beneath the great sinkholes. Where there is light is blue and dim. Merfolk tend the coral labyrinths that feed the benefic ecosystem. And that's about it. Nothing special. So let's move on to number 7. At number 7, we got Coral Barrier from Magic 2015. It's a common going for 9 cents, which is really a cool card, I think, because it costs 3 mana for this wall card. That's right. For this 1/3, which of course has Defender, it says when it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 blue squid creature token with Island Walk onto the battlefield. So there's 2 ways where this can benefit this token. Either you have something that helps with squids, which is very rare in the Magic world, but it has Island Walk. So if someone has islands, you can just attack. So it's kind of cool. So let's move on to number 6. And at number 6, we got Coral Ham. Well, this card is quite out there. So it has from various sets. It's uncommon or rare. And it's from 28 cents to $13.82. And it being the really expensive one is from this set, the Legends, this Poly Artifact. Man, it's been a while since I've seen Poly Artifact. Basically, it says, for 3 colors, give target creature +2/+2 on a turn. Each time you use this ability, you must discard 1 card at random from your hand. And it cannot be used if you have no cards in your hand, for obvious reasons. So it's kind of cool. It can Poly Artifact, which means you can use this over and over and over again. And the $13 is because of this card. Well, 20 cents, uncommon. So the more it gets reprinted, the cheaper it gets. That's already uncommon. So it's not really a very powerful card, but it could be. So let's move on to number 5. At number 5, we got Coral Helm Guide. That's right, I included Coral Helm into the top 10 Coral because basically it's the same thing. It's from various sets. It's common, as you can see. It's only 2 cents. That's right, it can't get any cheaper than that. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. This is the reason why it's at number 5, even though it costs 5 mana. It's just, overall, in the Magic world, it is not good. This is the top 10 Coral, and this is why it's at number 5. So let's move on to number 4. At number 4, we got Coral Trickster from various sets, like every other card. It's a common, but it's actually only 10 cents on the market, so it's a bit more than 2 cents from number 5. The reason why this is at number 4 is because of its morph ability. So if you don't like the 2/1, it can become a 2/2 creature if you feel like. And on top of that, when it's turn face up, you may tap or untap target permanent. It's not creature, so this is why it's this number, because of that permanent ability. So it could be anything, which is really cool because it could even be a land if you want. And this is why it's at number 4. So let's move on to number 3. At number 3, we got a land. It's Coral Atoll from various sets, like most of the Coral cards. It's uncommon, roughly 47 cents on the market at the time of this video. So this one picture is really cool. It's from the Commander series anyway. It comes into play tap, but when it comes into the battlefield, you must sacrifice unless you return an untapped island control to its owner. Its hand, which is very cool because when you tap it, it could actually add that colorless and the island. So you're getting 2 mana out of that land. I think it's a willing sacrifice to put this into play, so it's really cool. And it says land. It says not basic or artifact lands, so are things that can destroy artifact lands or so forth. This kind of gets it away. So it's a really cool card for like late in the games if you want that. So let's move on to number 2. At number 2, we have Retreat to Coral Helm. It's from Battle of Zendikar, and it's uncommon, going for only 70 cents on the market at this time. I like this card because I'm absolutely a fan of landfall cards. It's simple, it's easy. So when it says, whenever land enters the battlefield under control, choose one. You may tap or untap target creature or scry one. For 3 mana, you're bringing out this enchantment, and you can keep scrying and untapping. At that point, you are going to keep putting land into at least 8. So this ability, I think, is very impressive and very, very cool. So let's move on to the best coral card in Magic. So let's move on to number 1. At number 1, we got Coral Helm Commander from Rise of the Eldrazi. It's a rare going for $4.69 at the market. Basically, it's like Lord of Atlantis or any type of those merfolk cards. But this is Coral Helm. So this merfolk soldier costs 2 blue, so basically it's a 2/2. You can level up to give it flying, and then up to level 4, other merfolk creatures you control get +1/+1, and it has flying. So that's a very, very impressive ability for coral cards. So again, Coral Helm. I'm going to keep repeating, but that's the way it is. So this card, I think, is number 1, the best coral card you are going to play and find. And that's it. So I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rune. So today we're doing Magic the Gathering Top 10 Crab. That's right. So now, at number 10. So we have Scuttle Gator from Ravnica Allegiance. It's a common going for 3 cents. So I decided to do crabs with more than one subtype, which actually makes it very difficult on which ones I really want to put in the top 10. The reason why this is at number 10 is, well, this crab is a 6/6 defender, and it can attack as if it had a +1/+1 counter on it. So the only reason why it's at number 10 is it's actually a 6/6 crab, even though there's a turtle crocodile in it. That's why it's here. It's really powerful, and it's worth 3 cents, whoop-de-doo. But again, it's a really cool card, like the picture, and like I said, it's a 6/6 crab, turtle, crocodile. Anyway, so let's move on to number 9, which we have is Dreadlight Monstrosity from Innistrad Crimson Vow. It's a common going for a whopping 1 cent on the market right now, because I guess it may be new as well when it first came out. Again, it goes with the number 10, is that this crab horror is a 5/5 with a ward 2. So that's very, very impressive. This is why it's at 9. Because it's going to be one of those very powerful. I really like the picture. Really like it. It says, and then for 5 mana, basically, it can't be blocked. Activate this only if you own a card in exile. So you have to work your way around it, but that's really cool ability as well. I think this is underrated crab card because it can be used in a real deck. So let's move on to number 8. Which we have is Thassa's Emissary from Theros. It's an uncommon going for 12 cents on the market. That's right, this is just a pure crab. Costs 4 mana for this 3/3, and it says whenever the emissary or enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3. Hey, not bad at all. I really like that. It has Bestow 6. So if you cast this card for its Bestow cost, is an aura spell with enchant creature, it becomes a creature again if it's not attached to a creature. So I really like this card. I like the picture. I like that ability, that flex if you really want to do something in. 4 for a 3/3 is not too bad. So this is really good uncommon. So let's move on to number 7. Which we have is Warm Fang Crab from Judgment. It's an uncommon going for 17 cents on the market right now. And this one is really, really cool because it's a 3/6 for 4 mana. Basically, it becomes unblockable. But when it comes into play, opponent chooses a permanent you control and removes it from the game. Then, if crab leaves the play, returning the removed card to play under its under control. Again, that is a side effect, but it's unblockable, and you can really work with that. That's why it's at number 7. So let's move on to number 6. Which we have is Sharex the Raging Isle from Zendikar Rising. It is a rare and it's only 29 cents. Basically, this Leviathan crab says spells your opponent's cast at target basically costs 2 more to cast, and then you got to pay 3 to give it +X/-X for the islands you control. This is why it's at number 6 as well. Even for a rare, this should be an uncommon or something because you're spending a lot of mana just to get this creature to attack. It doesn't even have unblockable, trample, haste, nothing. It's just a big fat creature, and that's why it's here at number 6. 'Cause what you want to put onto it doesn't really affect. Even destroying this costs 4 mana. If you would do like a black card, destroy target creature, it's just not worth it in the end. So let's move on to number 5, halfway down our list. which we have is Iceberg Cancrix from Modern Horizons, and it's a common going for just 5 cents on the market. Well, this card is really kind of cool because it's a snow creature, and it's the only snow creature crab. When it says, whenever another snow perm enters the battlefield under your control, you may have target player put the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. So not 3, but 2. So it's a really cool just way of adding things to the list, and I believe discarding a person's deck, it makes this card very powerful, and it does cost 2 mana for a 0/4, so it could kind of be like a wall as well. So let's move on to number 4, which we have is Chrome Shell Crab from various sets. It's a rare going for 25 cents on the market. As you see the various sets, this picture being the Commander one. Well, it costs 4 mana for the morph, 4 mana to bring into play for this 3/3, so basically you want the morph. Well, this card can be very good and very bad. Basically, it says, when it's turned face up, you may exchange control of target creature you control and target creature an opponent controls. So it does fit with that theme with the blue controlling, but it's still super expensive. And you might not even play an opponent with creatures. This is why it's at number 4, so it can work to your advantage, but still it's a lot of money as well. So let's just straight up move on to number 3. Well, we got Hedron Crab. It's from Mystery Booster or Zendikar. It's an uncommon for, $6.06 currently on the market. And the reason why this is expensive as well, it's pretty good and it's old. There's no really reason because there's newer cards from Zendikar that does the exact same thing. So this Hedron Crab basically has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Cool picture, cool card. I just like that part of the controlling. Nothing much more to say, so let's move on to number 2. And at number 2, we got Rune Crab from Zendikar Rising. It's an uncommon, only going for 74 cents because it's really, really brand new. Basically, it's the exact same thing as Hedron Crab, but it has an extra defense. Instead of 0/2, this one is 0/3. So this Rune Crab, again, mills 3 cards, the opponent, but has a different thing. So this is why it's at number 2, because it is better than the Hedron Crab. So let's move on to number 1. And at number 1, we have Growth Chamber Guardian from Ravnica Allegiance, a rare only for 18 cents on the market. But when this was type 2, everyone played this green card. Because I like this Elf Crab Warrior, again, because I said it was mixing, and this is why I chose it number 1, you have 2 choices with this. This is why I really like it. Costs 2 mana for a 2/2 if that's what you simply want to do, or you can pay the adaptability. So if this creature has no +1/+1 counters on it, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Then it says, whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on the Guardian, you may search your library for a card named Growth Chamber Guardian, reveal it, and put it in your hand. So basically, if you put counters on this, you're pumping it up, and you can search your library for another creature card, and then just keep doing this over and over and over again. This is why I really like this crab. This one is actually, I believe, to be even helpful in real decks. This is why it's better than most crabs. It was a really hard decision between Rune Crab and this type. I chose this one to be because of the 3 things you can do with this card. And that's about it. So I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Runestone. Today we're going to be going over Magic the Gathering top 10 eggs. That's right. So let's begin with the top 10 eggs at number 10. Well, at number 10, we got good old Mysterious Egg from Icaro, Lair of Behemoths. It's common, going for 5 cents on the market. This egg basically says, whenever this creature mutates, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So the reason why it's at number 10 is, well, this isn't actually good. It only revolves around mutate. So if there's nothing to do with mutate, this card is absolutely useless. But it is a pretty fancy card if you do that. Plus, I like the picture. It's very impressive. And the saying is, a good forage if you can find it. But eat it before you get back to the sanctuary. The guards won't let you bring it through the gates. And now, at number 9. At number 9, we got Dragon Egg. It's from various sets. This one is from the Commander series. It's a common, going for about 10 cents on the market. And this Dragon Egg is actually kind of really cool because it has a 0/2 defender ability. But when it dies, create a 2/2 red dragon with flying. So that's a bonus because I feel like most people don't have flying creatures. And then also has that ability. This creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn by paying 1 mountain. So this Dragon Egg can turn into a dragon creature, which can therefore be very, very powerful after you cast that 3 mana, which is very expensive, again, for a defender creature, 0/2 for that 3. This is why it's a common, and that ability makes it that much more expensive. This is why it's at number 9, so it's really good and really bad at the same time. So let's just move on to number 8. At number 8, we got Shimmerk Egg from Darksteel. It's an uncommon for 12 cents on the market. So it costs 3 mana to play, just as you can see. It says whenever opponent plays a non-artifact spell, put a charge counter on the egg. Remove 3 charge counters from the Shimmerk Egg. It becomes a 6/6 artifact creature with trample until end of turn. Now the reason why it's at number 8 is because, well, it's only until end of turn, and then you have to start this process all over again. So even for 3 mana, making that 6/6 trample could be very good, but by the time it does actually get in play, the person most likely will have something that can defend against that. So let's just straight up move on to number 7, which we have at number 7, Biolume Egg. It's from Innistrad, Crimson Vow. It's an uncommon going for, that's right, 1 cent. It's this uncommon. I can't believe it's just so cheap. So this card is brand new on the block when the time of this video was made. This is a new set. So this is Defender 0/4 for 3 mana. So it's not the best, but it is actually more better for a Defender card for casting cost. But it does says Scry 2, which is really, really cool. Scrying 2 is a good factor in making this card. And then when you sacrifice it, return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, which would be a 4/4. So servants leave their eggs in the cold and inky depths. It's a really cool picture. I think this card is very underrated because sacrificing, if you're playing against someone who wants to destroy creatures, you can sacrifice its own creature, which is very hard. This is why it's at number 7. It's just a hard workaround, but it can be done. So let's move on to number 6. So at number 6 is most cards you've seen with the Rook Egg. It's from Arabian Night, or 8th or 9th edition. And back in the day, it was rare, and now it's a common. So that's why the price difference is worth $37.83, because it's from the old set, and those cards are worth a lot of money. Otherwise, it is just worth 44 cents, nothing too special. So this Rook Egg, it costs 4 mana for a 0/3. Very expensive. But it says when it goes into the graveyard, it can become a 4/4 red flying creature. It comes into play on your side at the end of the turn. Use a counter to represent Rook. Rook is treated exactly like a normal creature, except that if it leaves play, it is removed from the game entirely, which is pretty standard. But for a 4 red flying creature, again, I go back to this egg transforming into a flying creature, which does give that extra ability. And it's a 0/3 for 4. So you can have that ability. So you're not sacrificing like the Biolume. It's straight up putting that 4/4. And this is why it's here. So let's move on to halfway down the list at number 5. At number 5, we got Summoner's Egg from 5th Dawn. It's a rare going for $3.28 for an egg. That is very impressive. So basically it has imprint. When it comes into play, you may remove a card in your hand from the game and face it down. When Summoner's Egg is put into a graveyard from play, turn the imprinted face down card face up. If that card is a creature card, put into play under your control. So this is very, very powerful because it costs 4 mana for the 0/4. And, well, basically you want it to die. So you hope that the opponent attacks with something greater so it can basically die. And then if it does, you can bring out like that 10/10 or whatever it is. Or you can simply destroy it yourself. So this is at number 5. It was really hard to decide where I wanted this card on the list, but I felt it deserved to be at least in the top 5, which it is, and this is a really good egg. So let's move on to number 4. At number 4, we got Golden Egg from Throne of Eldraine. It's a common going for 13 cents, and I actually really, really like this card. As a personal value, this is at number 1. I really like this Golden Egg. It costs 2 mana. It says when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. 1, sacrifice, add 1 mana of any color. Or 2, you gain 3 life. So if you have an artifact deck, this does help with that ability. Again, it's just a personal common. This is one of my favorite eggs as a common card. And in fact, this one is the first one calling it a food, which is really, really cool. But other than that, this is just a personal thing. I like this card. So let's move on to number 3. At number 3, we have Triassic Egg from Legends or Chronicles, that therefore making it a rare for $28, or that's right, 38 cents. This is really cool. It costs 4 mana like most eggs. And you can see it's kind of transforming. So it costs 3, tap, put 1 counter on Triassic Egg. If there are at least 2 such counters, you may sacrifice it. Take any creature from your hand or graveyard and put it directly into play. Treat this creature as though it were just summoned. Wow, so that's really cool. So you can get that extra card. I really like that. Even though it has 2 counters, there are abilities where you can put counters on the artifacts, or you can just pay it up. So it does really make a difference. It does look familiar with the 5th Dawn card. So this is really cool. This is why it's at number 3, is you can get that creature out relatively fast if you need to. and then get 2 creatures in play as well. So let's move on to number 2. So at number 2, we got Dingus Egg. It's from various sets. It's rare, and again with the price point difference, it's right now it's worth $131 for it being old school like the alpha or beta, or the new one calling 39 cents. Whoop-de-doo. It is very expensive on the end, but I do believe how this egg is used, making it at number 2. It does cost 4 mana, but it says whenever anyone loses a land, egg does 2 damage to that player for each land lost. So it does go against an opponent who may sacrifice a land to bring in a new land. And then there's so many land destructions in various colors, even like, Chronicles with erosion, blue, right? Anything. So this can be really done well. This continuous artifact, as it says in the card, is really good if you can get that out right away. But let's move on to number 1. At number 1, we have Smoldering Egg. It's from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. It's a rare going for $1.15. That's only because it is in the current standard rotation of this video. But I think this card is very good. But like most eggs, it has Defender, but it costs 2 mana for a 0/4. So therefore, that does make that Defender ability more plausible instead of paying 4 mana for a 0/4. It says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a number of Ember counters on the egg, which, again, it is red, so that could be very easily done if you're doing mono red. Then, if it has 7 or more counters on it, remove them and transform egg, and it'll be a 4/4. You make a blue-red deck, which is commonly used for this card at the standard, it can be done quite fast. And that is all the top 10 eggs in the Magic. So I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rune. So today we'll be going over Magic the Gathering top 10 engine cards. And now, at number 10. With the first one being on our list is Sequence Engine from Commander 2021. It's a rare, going for a whopping 15 cents on the market at the time of this video. Basically costs 3 mana to put into play. Exile target creature card with a mana value of X from a graveyard. Create a 0/0 green blue fractal creature token. Put X+1 counters on it. Activate this only as a sorcery. So, while at number 10, it's an artifact. It's not an enchantment. So there's more cards that destroy artifacts, and it's nothing special. It's just a green blue fractal creature. There's nothing absolutely special. It's just put a creature into play. That's it. That's why it's at number 10. So let's move on to number 9, which is Witch Engine from Urza Saga. It's a rare going for just 39 cents on the market. Well, this 6 mana casting horror is a 4/4, has Swamp Walk, so that's actually kind of cool. And it says add 4 to your mana pool, target opponent gains control of Witch Engine. So that could also backfire, but that's a really cool, unique ability where it has a Swamp Walk and add 4 mana built within the creature. It's really unique, I'll just say. But it's at 9 because, well, it does go back to the opponent. 6 for a 4/4 Swamp Walk. There are better cards than that. So let's move on to number 8. Well, we got a good old classic card, Dragon Engine. It's from various sets, being common or rare. Believe it or not, it was common and then it went to rare for 27 cents. I can't believe it at the time of this video. Well, this card costs 3 mana, but it's a 1/3. The reason why I guess it was rare is because it costs 2 mana to give it +1/+0 until end of turn, and there is no cap on that. So basically, you can pump it up as much mana as you have. And it's actually kind of a cool picture from the Antiquities anyway. So let's move on to number 7, which I will probably say wrong, but Shorika, a Genesis Engine. It's from Neon Dynasty Commander, where it's a mythic going for $4.02 at the time of this video. So it costs 4 mana for this 8/8. Really cool with the crew 8, obviously. And can't be your commander. So it does target, obviously, from the commander decks that you want to make. Pay 1, draw 2 cards, and discard a card. Create a 1/1 pilot creature token with this creature cruise vehicle as though it had the power 2 or greater, which is actually very beneficial, but there are other cards from Neon Dynasty that would help a lot better than this ability. So let's move on to number 6, which is Dampening Engine from Urza's Legacy. It's a rare going for 67 cents on the market. This artifact costs 4 mana. Basically, it's a very cool picture because it's done by RK Post, one of my favorite artists in the Magic world. Basically, this card says, a player who controls more permanents than any other cannot play lands or artifact creatures or enchantment spells. That player may sacrifice a permanent to ignore this effect until end of turn. So it's really cool. Could backfire. you can have fun with this card. That's what I'll just say. So let's move on to number 5, halfway down the list, which is another artifact creature dragon legendary engine card, which is called Ramos Dragon Engine. It's from Commander 2017, being a mythic with an average price of $15.83. It costs 6 mana for this 4/4 flyer, but whenever you cast a spell, put a +1/+1 on counter for engine for each of that spell's colors. Remove 5 +1/+1 counters from Ramos. Add that much mana to your mana pool. Activate this ability once each turn. So this is actually very, very cool because there are certain cards where you can win the game if you have multicolored creatures of every color. So you can actually sack it, put them into play because of the ability for this dragon engine, and then cast. If you have that card, you win the game. Other than that, it's kind of annoying and cool and everything at the same time. So let's move on to number 4. And now we're starting to get to some of the good cards that are actually playable in the Magic world. This one is called Wormcoil Engines from various sets, being mythic and an average price of $22.66. Well, what makes this awesome card is, well, it costs 6 mana for 6/6, pretty standard, but it also has Death Touch and Lifelink. And then when it dies, you get to create a token for either the Death Touch and Lifelink, making them 3/3s. That's really awesome. You gain life, or you can kill their creatures, no matter what. It's just 6 for this. All this for just 6 mana. You can't beat that. So let's move on to number 3. Well, it's Contingent Engine from Scars of Mirrodin. It's a rare going for $13.94. Again, another one that costs 6 mana, surprisingly. But when it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature target player controls, which is fine and dandy. It doesn't mean anything. But it does have Proliferate and then Proliferate again. So that could not just attack those counters on the enemies, it could affect on certain counters that you have already on other creatures. This is why it's at number 3, is because you can really have fun and play around with this card, doing actually a lot of damage. So this is a very playable card in the real Magic world. Let's move on to number 2, which is Paradox Engine from Aether Revolt, being a mythic and only $5.66. This one is actually one of my favorite cards. I really like the artwork, and I actually played this a lot when it was standard. It basically says, whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. So, well, that just gives you free mana every turn. That's why I think this card is very powerful. It does cost 5 mana, but you can really do a lot of damage, in my opinion, that you can do with this card. So let's move on to number 1. Well, this amazing card is Lithoform Engine from Zendikar Rising. It's a mythic, like most at the top 10 of this list, is $11.41 on this market. Costs 4 mana, which is about 1 better than most artifacts. Basically costs 2 mana. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets, or pay 3 mana, instant or sorcery, and 5 copy target permanent spell you control. Very versatile, so you can just have 2 mana and copy that activate ability. And with everything on that list, you know how damaging this artifact can do to an opponent. I won't go into detail, but you can know how this universally card is just absolutely amazing. And that is all the cards we have for the top 10 engine, and I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ruins. Now, today we're going over Magic the Gathering top 10 haul. That's right. So now, at number 10, to start off with our list, we have Great Hall of Starnheim. It's from Kaldheim. It's an uncommon going for 12 cents on the market right now, which will probably devalue once it's not in standard. Basically, it comes into play tapped, add a swamp. Then for 2 white and a swamp, sacrifice, create a 4/4 white angel warrior creature token with flying and vigilance. Activate this ability only if you do a sorcery. So it's pretty cool. You do get a creature if you sacrifice it, and it costs only 3 mana to do that. Well, you need the mana to sacrifice it. So it could be helpful if you're playing, I guess, like an angel deck or some kind of destroy all creature. Other than that, this is why it's at number 10. So let's move on to number 9. Which we have is Halls of Mist from Ice Age. It's a rare going for $4.21, probably because it's on the reserved list. I personally like this card when it first came out in Ice Age. Though this card has cumulative upkeep 1, so if you don't know, that means you have to pay it basically every turn more and more. So no creature can attack if it attacked during its control last turn. Now the only reason I see this card could be really good is maybe if you have it in a commander deck, which you have a lot of lands, and with the cumulative upkeep, you might be able to pull that off. But other than that, this card is just a personal one. I really like it. That's why it's a number 9. The cumulative upkeep is pretty dangerous, but other than that, this card's not that good. So let's just straight up move on to number 8. At number 8, we got Stincia Bloodhull from Innistrad, or Secret Lair drop. And it's a rare, so obviously you can see the price difference from 26 cents for just the regular one, or $17.96 for the Secret Lair drop. Basically, it says tap, add 1 to your mana pool, or for 5 mana, deals 2 damage to target player, which can be really cool if the person just needs that, you don't have anything to cast. Pay that 5 and 2 damage, maybe you'll win the game. That's all you need to win the game, because this is target player, not creature. That's the reason why it's at number 8, because it doesn't say to any target. So you might as well just use shocks or whatever. So let's move on to number 7. Which we have is Hall of Storm Giants. It's from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. It's a rare going for $3.92. The reason why, at the time of this video, this card is in standard. So after that, it will drop quite fast. I really like this card. I am always a fan of lands that can turn into creatures, and this is one such one, because it enters the battlefield tapped if you control 2 or more other lands. Basically, for 6 mana, you can make this a 7/7 blue giant creature with Ward 3. So that Ward 3 really does make a difference. It's 6 mana, just even for a 7/7, that's pretty powerful. But on top of that, it has Ward 3, so it does stop a lot of people if they cast creatures or anything. It has that Ward 3. You can even stop unsummoning if you don't want. This is a really cool card, and I just 100% like it. So let's move on to number 6, which we have the classic Hall of the Bandit Lord from Champions of Kamigwa. Yes, I always say that wrong. It's a rare going for $24.09 currently at the market. I just like the picture. This card is really cool. It's a great set, I think. It comes into play tap. Pay 3 life, add 1 mana to your mana pool. If that mana is spent on a creature spell, that creature has haste. Definitely a game changer right there. Pay 3 life to have a creature with haste. It's just 3 life. You don't even have to pay mana. This card is absolutely amazing. I love this card from the series. I like the artwork from Paleo Print. Again, I said that wrong again as well. And wow. So let's move on to number 5. So halfway down our list, we got Hall of Triumph from Journey to Nyx. It's a rare going for a whopping 39 cents at the market right now. Basically, this is like any other enchantment out there, but it is a legendary artifact. It says, when it enters the battlefield, choose a color for 3 colorless mana. Creatures you control of the chosen color get +1/+1. So basically, it's like any white enchantments, but again, this could be used for any color. So that's very helpful. I think this is a really cool enchantment. If you do want to pump your creatures up, instead of having the typical white, you can use this as a legendary artifact. And the only drawback is if you have something that can destroy an artifact instead of an enchantment. So let's move on to number 4. Which we have is Assembly Hall from Mercurian Mask. It's a rare going for 26 cents on the market. This card was really popular when it first came out, but obviously it is not anymore. It costs 5 colors to bring out this artifact, so it's already very expensive. But it does have 4 colors. Tap, reveal a creature card in your hand, search your library for a copy of that card, and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. So it does have really cool abilities. So if you have a very powerful creature, obviously you want that in your hand, or some kind of creature that you just want. That's the reason why it's at number 4, because you can basically do it every turn, and it prevents cards from, search your sideboard or something like that. You can just do this. So let's move on to number 3, which we have is Hall of Gemstone from Raj, or World Champ deck from 1998. Either way, it's a rare. So as you can tell, it's $21.56 from the original, or even $8 almost for the World Champ deck. So that's really impressive. So it's an Enchant World, that's right. Back in the day, they used Enchant World, so it costs 3 mana. It says, during each player's upkeep, that player chooses a color. Until an end of turn, each mana-producing land produces mana of the chosen color instead of its normal color. So that's actually kind of really cool. Could be good, could be bad against you or the opponent, depends on how you want to use this card. Either way, this card is really cool. But there are a couple other ones, so let's move on to number 2. Which we have is Hall of Heliod's Generosity from Modern Horizons. It's a rare going for $6.91 at the market. It may decrease or increase in the value because this is sort of new when it first, at the time of this video. And I really want to put this at number 1 because I just love this card 100%. This is probably one of my top 10 favorite legendary lands. Basically, it says add 1 colors. For 1 colorless and white, put target enchantment card from your graveyard on top of your library. This goes in hand with because I am a fan of the white enchantments and prevent damage and all that stuff. So this card for me is a personal one. Love the artwork, love the card. I just love everything about it. But unfortunately, it's number 2. So let's move on to number 1. Well, at number 1, we got Dream Halls from Stronghold. It's a rare going for almost $60 on the market right now. This card is basically, it's an enchantment. That's really cool because this enchantment says instead of paying the casting cost for a spell of any color, its caster may choose and discard a card that shares at least 1 color with that spell. If that spell has an X in its casting, X is 0. And the saying is within, without. Like for a blue enchantment that costs 5 instead of paying the casting cost for a spell of any color. Like, I don't know what they were thinking when they made this card. Like, not only is it a great hull card, it's just a great card in general. Like, wow, 100%. Anyway, I can go on and on about how great this card is. So this is actually number 1, and it's a really good card. So I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening.